I try to find the next thing. There was a couple things I just want to reiterate. I get to come up here and shoot my mouth off between every speaker. One of the things, you know, and Roy, I think, asked the question just before we went to lunch was, we see this uptick in incidents over the past couple years, and what does that mean? One of the things that I don't think got stated clearly was if you start looking at that uptick and you start looking at those incidents, there really aren't very many common factors that cause those. This rash of incidents we've had over the last 2 years were all different things. You know, it was cast iron pipe in some places. It was old pipe that shouldn't have been in the ground to begin with in places. It was strange electrical things like you had here in Salt Lake City. So you can't say, oh, we've got old pipe, it's all the same thing, and that's why we're seeing an uptick. The other thing why we're having this session here today is lots of times the public kind of makes the leap that all the companies are the same, and if you say the industry, they all get painted with the same brush. So I think Scott's presentation did a good job of showing how Questar here locally is doing things differently than maybe PG&E was in California, or has different problems than they have in Philadelphia and in places back east where they have hundreds or thousands of miles of cast iron pipe. That's not a problem here in Salt Lake Valley anymore. All right, my next speaker is Von McAllister, who is the manager of pipeline safety for Kern River Gas Transmission Company. They're the big gas pipeline here in the county. And let me push the magic button, and it's all yours.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to participate. Cut off on the bottom there is my personal contact information. So if you've got any questions, I'd be glad to hear from you, but you'll have to look at the slides when you get the seminar later. Kern River is, as has been said, an interstate natural gas transmission system. We currently operate 1,708 miles of pipe. We extend from southwest Wyoming through Utah and Nevada to Bakersfield, California. Our current design capacity is 2.17 billion cubic feet per day. We have 163 employees. The majority of them work at our office in Fort Union area, just off I-215 at 6200 South exit. We're owned by Mid-American Energy Holdings Company, which is part of Berkshire Hathaway. I've been purchased by them about 10 years ago. This is a map of our system. Our receipts are primarily up in Wyoming. We do have a receipt point from Questar at this compressor station down below Salt Lake City at Alberta. We deliver gas to the refineries, several places to Questar, to the West Valley Power Plant. We have several deliveries throughout southern Utah. We supply numerous power plants in the Las Vegas area, as well as deliver most of the gas to their distribution company, Southwest Gas. And then we have numerous industrial and distribution company deliveries in California. We've been in operation since 1992. In 2003, we built an expansion that looped almost the entire system, so that we now are two parallel 36-inch diameter lines, with the exception of a little piece through the city of Las Vegas. Our maximum allowable operating pressure is 1,333 pounds per square inch gauge. We are a large diameter, high pressure gas transmission line. We just completed what we call an apex expansion. We finished the loop through the Wasatch Mountains, and I mentioned that. Many of you may have noticed that you can see the right-of-way from the freeways and things here. We will be doing additional restoration work on that, planting shrubs and trees to blend the edges of the right-of-way and make that disappear if we can. We're also currently working, if you drive I-15 north, on grouting the crossing. We've had a little bit of settling there. If you notice a little dip as you go up that freeway. We hope to get that fixed within the next couple of weeks, so that won't be any further problem. This is a little bit more detailed map. We come down Chalk Creek to Colville, across north of East Canyon, across the Wasatch Mountains. Then we come down out of the mountains around the south edge of North Salt Lake. We cross I-89 and I-15 there right by the Chevron refinery, just south of the I-215 interchange. We come through the off-highway vehicle park, across I-215, across the north side of the airport, and then we turn south, across I-80. Just south of that point, we have a Salt Lake compressor station. We then turn west again through between the R.C. Willey warehouse and the LDS Church warehouse over to just west of 5600 West. And then we follow the utility corridor all the way down through the valley. We're west of I-15 all the rest of the way through the state. Some of the important things about us are, at 20 years old, we are a relatively young pipeline. We've got modern technology, modern high-toughness steel, good specifications, good quality control. We have fusion bonded epoxy coating, still I think the best coating system going. We had good construction inspection. We have good materials and construction records. The records issues have been mentioned. They come to the public eye quite a bit after the San Bruno incident, and we're in relatively good shape. Corrosion control is the next big thing for pipeline safety. We operate in press current cathodic protection. We have remote monitoring of our rectifiers so that we know if something goes wrong very quickly. We don't have to wait for a bi-monthly check of the rectifiers. We have, in populated areas, relatively close spacing for our cathodic protection test posts, a little bit more detailed than many pipelines. We have done detailed interference surveys, both with other underground utilities and for AC-induced interference. We've installed a lot of mitigation for that AC-induced interference and to prevent a corrosion problem from that. We have a lot of that in the Salt Lake Valley. A very important item, we are on a 4-year cycle for integrity assessments. We have done 2 complete assessments of our system. In conjunction with that, we have hundreds of pipe examinations. We do a minimum of 5 digs for each inline inspection run to calibrate and verify, and we know a lot about what's going on with our pipe and what we have in the ground. The next reinspection for this area will be next year. We'll run from the Salt Lake compressor station the next segment south. We, in conjunction with that inline inspection, run close interval cathodic protection inspection, which gives us a lot of detail and helps us to do a good job in operating that corrosion control system. We have what we call a supervisory control and data acquisition system. SCADA is the acronym, but it's the remote control and monitoring. It's manned round the clock all of the time. The gas control room is in our office at Fort Union area. We have remote control and automatic valves. They're both in all of the high consequence areas and adjacent to them. This was another one of the big items. You've heard a little bit about it today, but in the San Bruno incident, it's the speed to shut the system down, and we have pretty good coverage in that respect. Damage prevention is the next big item. We fly the pipeline at least twice per month. We do daily patrols in areas that have very much development at all, and especially the south end of the Salt Lake Valley. And in Las Vegas, we drive the pipeline every day, at least weekdays, looking for activity that we may not know about if someone hasn't done one calls. We do maintain our cover. We survey the depth of cover along with other integrity assessments and repair it if it's decreased for some reason. We have an enhanced public awareness program that includes some supplemental communications and supplemental messages. This has been talked about quite a bit in the last couple of presentations and will be discussed more tomorrow. This is the place that the public really can help us. If you see activity around our pipeline without Kern River trucks there, please give us a call. But the biggest item, as has been said, is to call 811 before you do any work. We were asked to talk about the seismic hazards. This probably should have been up in the design section of the presentation. That's when this was really addressed. All of the faults in the area were studied in quite a bit of detail before the line was originally built. The route selection depended on avoiding some of them where it could. It ended up with 4 faults that we crossed that required special design for the earthquake hazard, and one of those is the Wasatch Fault here. That design consists of over-excavation. It's an extra 14 feet excavated around the pipeline. As was mentioned for Questar, it has select backfill, non-cohesive soil, sand and gravel, so that the pipe can move through it more easily. It has heavier wall steel. It's thicker wall, but it's lower yield strength, really about the same strength, but it's a little bit more flexible and can move a little bit easier. That design is the way we model it now, is capable of moving or accommodating a 12.5 foot movement on the Wasatch Fault and still let us stay safely within the stress levels that are full maximum allowable operating pressure. Of course, if there was an event, we would have to evaluate very quickly what the real movement was. We also have strain gauges on the line there so that we can monitor and tell what the earthquake has done to the fault. Liquefaction is the other part of the earthquake design. For us, the liquefaction areas are basically where we hit the valley floor there at the Chevron refinery through to about the Salt Lake compressor station. And we do have heavy wall pipe installed throughout that entire area, and our design shows that it's adequate to be able to stand the lateral soil separation, either axial or perpendicular to the pipeline. So that's our design, and that's my presentation. Thanks.